everyone, Christina here, and welcome to Card Player TV's new show called Poker Buzz. In each episode of Poker Buzz, we are going to cover the latest happenings in the poker industry. Everything from breaking news on legislation to the latest televised poker that has everyone buzzing. And for our premiere installment today, that's exactly what we're going to do. Last night, ESPN aired the premiere episode of their World Series of Poker main event coverage. The clear star of the show was Lex Veldhuis, also known as Rozzy Online. We have him on the phone now to talk about it. Hey Lex, how's it going?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for calling. You're calling all the way from Holland, right?
Yeah. It's well, I basically follow the American time zone anyway, so it's not a problem. It's my afternoon too.
So first of all, before we talk about what everybody else has been talking about, the World Series of Poker main event airing last night, what have you been up to? I hear you've been playing 30 tables, playing hours at a time. What's been going on?
Yeah. Right after the WSOP, I kind of had like this poker hunger, and I really wanted to play. And I've been really confident in my game, so I've been playing a lot of nosebleed stakes online, and been playing like 25, 50, 200, 100, 200, and I don't know, just playing monster sessions and a lot of tables, and I did the biggest swings I ever had, I think. So I'm just playing a lot of poker right now. All
right, so now let's talk about the World Series of Poker main event. Now, you didn't get to see the episode, is that right?
No, it's like, it's weird. Like everyone, the rest of the world basically depended on one guy recording it or something, and we don't get ESPN here, so I haven't actually seen it myself yet, but I heard from other people that saw it, and of course from Evelyn, and what hands they showed and stuff, so I have a pretty good idea of what has been going on in the episode.
All right, well, you're at the main spotlight table. When you sat down and looked around, what were your first impressions of the players at the table?
Well, the first thing I saw when I walked to the table was, nice, Ellie on my right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, we made jokes about it. We played during the 40K event, and I think my style counters his, like, he plays a little more small ball, weaker, pre-flop kind of game, and I do the exact opposite. So me being on his left, just, I don't know, I think in EV it would guarantee me half of his stack without playing a hand, if you know what I mean. Like, I can abuse that a lot. Plus the rest of the table looked pretty like nervous, anxious,
mm-hmm.
except for this young German kid. He seemed pretty confident.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alan Cunningham walked in later, and that kind of changed things a bit for me because he obviously has no fear, and he's very tricky, and he can abuse the way people think about him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of worried about that, but other than that, it's a pretty good main event table to start on, so I was pretty excited.
Well, you mentioned your style countering Ellie's, and one of the first hands that they showed was you bluffing with 9-7 offsuit when he had pocket fours and showing. He kind of mentioned a little frustration there. Is that basically where that began?
Yeah, well, it kind of began in the 40K event. I played with him on day one, and he raised under the gun, and I 3-bet him, and he said something, is your hand really that good? And I told him I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. So I told him there that I didn't really care, I just want to play with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he folded the hand, and he didn't really believe me, but I opened my hand, and I had like 9 deuce offsuit or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I guess you had the best hand.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew what he was in for when he started the main event, and we kind of started this like banter and trash talk thing for fun. I mean, I really like Ellie a lot.
Okay.
He's awesome, but we just like to, I don't know, just mess with each other a bit. Like in one of the first hands, he threw my hand away and accidentally flipped it over, and I had aces. And then he said, wow, you have no idea what I did for your image there. And I'm like, yes, thank you so much. I can bluff like 6 times in a row now. So it's all in good fun. And I mean, most of his frustration was kind of fake, and he just wanted to get like in my head or something. But yeah, I definitely got to him at certain points where he was just disgusted when he had to fold.
That is what I was going to ask you. If that banter bordered on a little more than frustration, or if it's just playful. But it seems like you guys have a pretty good rapport with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Now, you didn't it didn't seem like you ever put on the brakes in this episode. It seemed like you played every single hand, and of course, this is over hours of play, and they do a lot of editing, and of course, the most exciting hands are included. One hand I wanted to ask you about, you were heads up against Mwens, and he had 7-6 suited, and he ended up flopping bottom pair on a 10-7-6 board, and you check raise bluff with King-Jack on the flop, and fired the turn, and then you made a small value bet on the river when 4 clubs came. Do you remember what hand I'm talking about?
Yes. What I thought most of that hand is, the funny thing is, on every street I kind of wanted to give up.
Mm-hmm.
But then I knew he was pretty aggressive and a thinking player, so I kind of figured that if he had a really good draw, he would have put it in on a flop, for instance, or he would have at least like done something. And I just figured he was pretty weak, but I was gonna give up the bluff on the river, but then the 4th club came, and I'm like, I can't give up here. So then I just tried to fake a really disgusting value bet, because I really respect his game, and Ellie has told me some hands about a tournament he played with him, and those were some interesting hands, so I knew he would think, and he took his time every decision, so I figured I just need to fake that I want to be called, and I know he will have the discipline to fold something. So that's why I bet, like, I don't know, if I remember correctly, I bet like 1/3 pot or something.
Yeah.
Something really small, so that really worked out, and if I had lost that hand, I would have probably gone out within a round after that, because I would have barely had anything left.
Right. Well, it also seems like even though you're faking a value bet bluff, and you're also not risking a ton of chips on the bluff, since it was a smaller bet to make it look like a value bet.
Yeah, but the biggest problem about situations like that is when you make a value bet, it's to extract the most value. So it's the best value bet you could think of that will be the most profitable in the end. So if you do that with a bluff, you're basically trying to get him to call, but to fold. Because the problem with value bets is that they're going to get called a lot. So if you fake a value bet, you have to really trust that your opponent will be able to see it and or fold it, and doesn't think like, oh, okay, I call.
Right.
Because that happens too much. Sometimes it doesn't work like, I mean, people don't always recognize value bets, because otherwise that term wouldn't really exist, because then if you would be value betting, they would know it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a reverse psychology situation where if I try to fake a really good bet that would get value, let's say if I had the 8 of clubs, I might bet the same amount. But the problem is, if I think that's the right amount to bet when I have the nuts, are they going to fold when I try to bluff with that amount?
Right.
So it's really tricky, but I don't know, I respect the game a lot, so that's why I thought it could work against him.
The other hand I wanted to talk to you about was the Jack Links Wildcard hand, where they went through the hand and didn't show your cards. And just to be fair, I definitely could not call your hand. But it was against Mwens and also Alan Cunningham. Mwens raised with pocket tens, and you called behind. And Alan Cunningham also called with ace-jack, and the flop was 4-3-2, 2 hearts. When Mwens checked, even though he took initiative pre-flop, you decided to bet here with nothing. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I figured if Wentz had a hand, he would try and protect it out of position, especially against people like me, if he wanted to keep the initiative. And I didn't think it would take a lot of chips to find out if I could pull my bluff off. So Alan Cunningham usually plays pretty strong hands pre-flop, so it's really a board he'll either hit or miss, and will probably not slow play like a set on a board like that that's so drawy. Especially if they want to know where they're at, because I could basically play any 2 from there.
Right.
So I bet, and Cunningham folded, and then Wentz check called. So at this point I figured, okay, so he has something, but he doesn't want to inflate the pot, so he's going to pot control and check call here. So I figured he wasn't really certain about his hand, or that he was slow playing something and wanted to go for it on a turn. So the turn was the flush card, I believe?
Yes, it was the 9 of hearts completing the flush, and he checked again to you.
So I figured he's not going to check call with the flush draw on the flop. Like, he would definitely get some initiative, being the initial raiser. So I figured, well, I mean, it's a pretty perfect card to just, I don't know, like, bet strong. Also because I showed that King-Jack bluff to him, and I bet really small. So I figured I need to bet really big here to make him think that I go for small bluffs and big value bets or something. So I bet big, and I was kind of surprised to see him call there, and I was kind of thinking, maybe he just doesn't believe me, and he goes for check call all the way. And by pot controlling, so he doesn't have to go for play the hand for his whole stack. So again, like in the king jack hand, I was kind of done with the hand, but then the ace came, and it's just like the most perfect card ever, because if he just plays a 5 there, he would have played it the same as he would a flush draw. He would have bet out on the flop. So I figured this just adds the whole range of possibilities that I could have that beat him now if he has like a pair, or I don't know, maybe even 2 pair or something evil he wanted to pot control on that board. So I mean, I could have so many 5s in my range. I probably bet the turn with a 5 as well. So I just figured, like, I mean, does he really want to go out on a call here with 1 pair or anything? So then I just put it in, and again he folded.
When you are all in for your tournament life, on the river, no cards to come, stone cold bluff, are you used to that by now, or do you still get a little bit of butterflies in your stomach?
Well, it was definitely weird because the cameras add kind of a different tension to it. I don't really care how people perceive it or perceive the stuff that I do or look at my bluffs or play, but this is just like, I mean, it looks so stupid or crazy if he has like the nut flush there and he's just like call, and I'm like, yep, king eye, goodbye. And you know, and people are just looking, and it's like, yeah, the guy doesn't have any breaks, and it's just another crazy Euro lactard who bites the dust, and wow, keep coming back, please. So it's kind of, that did something to me at that point, but just looking at it poker-wise, I'm used to that stuff by now, but I always feel excitement, like tension, or it's just a kind of a hope, like, please fold, that would be so sweet, and I want to show this to you. And so there's definitely always excitement. I don't really care that they call or if I'm out of a tournament. I would only care if I feel afterward that my play wasn't correct, or if friends whose opinions I respect a lot would say to me that really sucked. So,
well, now after finding out the hands that they had, were you surprised that they ended up folding so many hands to you? And strong hands, too. Yeah.
I mean, how, like, the guy that folded queens to me on the 8-5-5-8 board, I mean, how can you possibly fold queens? It's just, I think it's kind of, people expect that I would, like, start bluffing at the beginning, showing, and then people always tighten up, and I hope to get a hand soon to get value. That's how people like a year ago would always do it when they played loose in the beginning. But you kind of can tell that people expect that now. So now every time I went crazy, they were just thinking, well, he has to have it now. I mean, he can't just keep doing it.
Right.
Plus, the way he talks about it and the way he talks about like the PC table and stuff, I figured, I mean, he's going to make it last. I mean, he's not going to try and do something crazy or make a hero call. So I just figured, like, I'll give it one more bullet, and I bet like 51% of his stack or something. And after he told me he folded queens, I was like shocked. My jaw dropped literally. Like Evelyn was laughing when he told me. Not at him, of course, but just the way I was just baffled. I didn't believe him. I was like, no, you didn't. So yeah, I was amazed after I heard what hands they folded.
One more question. Why did you keep showing every time?
I mean, you know, like, everybody is so serious at the table. Like, people take it so seriously when you play aggressive. I mean, I get a lot of hate at the table, like in fights or something, because people just randomly start ranting against me, like because I play aggressive, and that's their only reasoning. And they take it serious, and they're there, and they just like with sweat in their hands, and they don't want to smile. I mean, it's one thing to try and make money at the World Series. It's another thing that you can have fun while doing it. So, I mean, showing bluffs and fooling around and the stuff with Ellie definitely adds an extra excitement to poker for me. And I don't want to become some bitter, like, beaten down grinder who can just only tell stories about when he lost his aces to a guy that makes 3 queens. And I mean, I don't want to turn into someone like that. So I try to look at it from a fun perspective, and what's more fun than showing someone a bluff?
Well, I had to tell you that I had so much fun watching the episode. Every time I was like, no way, he can't get away with it again, but you did every time. So, well, thank you so much for giving us your insight on the airing last night. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to our first episode of Poker Buzz. I'm Christiana for Card Player TV.